Hey everyone, welcome to my channel, JetX Stitch. My name is Jessica and I'm here to talk about my cross stitch today. More specifically, I'm going to be doing a 2024 finish parade. So I'm going to be showing off all of the things that I finished stitching in the year 2024. And right now it's 2025, January 2025, so I might be like mixing up like this year, that year, but just know that everything I'm talking about today was our projects that I finished in 2024. And there are a lot of them. And I think a big part of that is due to the fact that I really started getting into designing my own patterns and stitching them as like models, but also because I wanted to stitch them and then releasing them. So there's a lot of projects here that I both started in 2024 and finished in 2024. There are only a couple, I think there's only like 3 or 4 projects that I brought in as whips from 2022 and 2023 that I actually finished. Almost like the bulk of my current whips that I have in 2025 are actually whips from 2022 and 2023 still. I think I got a lot better about only starting things that I was like super interested in stitching. Like I know more of my design style and more of my stitching style, like what I prefer to stitch. So that's gotten better. But yeah, at the beginning, you know, you're experimenting. And so I do have some of those old whips that I'd like to finish, but they're still on the whip. They're still on the whip pile for now. But right now, let's talk about my finishes. I have a few stats to start off with. I started the year at 7 whips. So just whips accumulated mostly from 2023. I think most of those. I think there's only 1 whip from 2022 in that count. Maybe, I don't know. I started 39 projects in the year of 2024 and I finished 38 of those. So I have 38 finishes to show today. I am not going to talk extensively about them, or most of them, I think. A lot of them I've already talked about a lot in my other FoaW videos, so I'm definitely just gonna be like, here's this one fabric, moving on. But maybe with some of the stuff that I never got around to showing up my FoaW because it was before my FoaW time, I'll go into more details on those, I'm thinking. We'll see how this is going and how long it's taking, I'm not sure. I've never filmed a video so far with this many projects involved. So it'll be new, and I don't know if I'm gonna be very talkative or if I can just speed through it. We'll just see. But yeah, so I finished 38 projects in the year 2024, and then that means I ended the year at 8 whips. So my current whip count, it's actually higher now because I started some in 2025, but I started the year 2025 with 8 whips. And some like designer stats, I wanted to see some of those things because those are fun as well. I released 22 patterns, so I published 22 patterns in 2024, which is much higher than 2023. I think I only started releasing patterns at the end of 2023, and I probably only had like four at that time. So my goal for this year was to kind of just release 1 pattern a month, and I definitely far exceeded that goal. So I released 22 patterns. And another fun stat that I thought would be fun to see is like what color is my most used color in design for 2024. So I actually went through all of those 22 patterns. I like listed out all the DMC. For over dyed flosses, I just used my DMC conversion for those, and I counted everything up. Well, I did it in Excel, so I just like, you know, copy pasted that column of DMC, sorted it, and then I could more easily see like chunks, like which colors were the largest chunks of colors. And so for 2024, my most used DMC, there's actually 3 of them. It was a 3-way tie. I used each of these colors in 5 patterns. And for me, these aren't surprising. These aren't surprising. I was kind of thinking it would be at least one of these colors to begin with. But the first color is 956. So this is one of the colors, my most used colors is 956. And then another one was 3607. Is this fuchsia? Sometimes I don't know color names and I use the wrong name, but it's like a purpley, pinky purple. And then the last one is 3826, and I couldn't find it. I'm trying to put together a master DMC set, which I've started doing. Like these are my little cards that I'm using for, that I'm making for my master DMC set. But yeah, obviously I have it somewhere because I used it in 5 patterns, but for some reason I could not find it anywhere. And that color, the 3826, is just a very warm mid dark brown color. So those are my 3 top colors. I used them in 5 different designs each. And there was one pattern that all 3 of the colors showed up in, and that was Strawberry Mountain, which I have in this big stack of finishes over here. Okay, so for the finishes, I am not planning on doing them in any order. They're not like, it's not chronological, it's not separated. It's kind of separated, I guess, by finish style, because I have like a stack of frames at the bottom and then unfinished stuff up here, some like littler things up there. But I don't think I'm going to, I'm gonna try and like swap between them. So let's get into it. I'm gonna start out with my biggest finish for the year 2024. This is biggest finish based on like the stitch count dimensions. I didn't actually look to see how many stitches are in this compared to some of the other patterns. I think it might actually win out on the number of stitches in the pattern as well, because it is it's a pretty beefy one. This is a pattern by me. I did this more towards the beginning of the year. This is called Dragon Fragments. I'll hold it up to the camera to try and show it off. It's just really big. And I don't really stitch a lot of large projects like this, so I don't really know how people show off the projects in the camera. But here it is. This is stitched on a 46 count cream and sugar beans, no. It's my cat. Cream and Sugar Linen by FoaW on a Whim. This is my first experience with, I'm just gonna pause for a second. Okay, my cat Beans is messing with my little tripod thing set up and he's trying to tip it over, so I really don't want my phone flying. All right, so this one is, yeah, on a 46 count, my first experience stitching on 46 count for a full project. I did try a 46 count color and cotton linen and I had a really hard time with this, but this one, the FoaW on a Whim, was much easier. I had the idea to design this after seeing some like antique, I guess you'd say, like darning samplers. And darning is a type of stitch which is used mostly for repairing fabrics. Like it will be, you'll have like a hole in the fabric and you can use darning to patch up that hole. So this is not darning, but I just wanted to make it look a little bit like darning with the overlapping but contrasting colors, because in a lot of the darning samplers, they use contrasting colors just to show off their techniques. That's not necessarily something you would do when you're repairing clothes, because you're trying to make it not be apparent that it has this big hole in repair of that hole in your fabric. So this one was a big one, and I haven't gotten it framed because it's really big and I've never framed something this big before. So I have the frame, I just need to do it. But there is Dragon Fragments. My next one is a recent finish, an FFO. This is a pattern by Sprouting Lupine. It's a not me design. This is on a 36 count Picture This Plus woodland linen, and I stitched it 1/2, and yeah, finished it in this nice little banner style. I did a color conversion on this, and I also removed the bottom portion of the pattern. Has like an initial area and some border stitching, like I guess repeat border kind of look to it. So I just removed that because I was done with it and I don't like repetitive stitching. So there it is, Unicorn's Garden. Next one up is another pattern by me. This is also a little finish from earlier in the year. This one is called Dandy Deer. It's stitched all in DMC, and it's stitched on a witch out linen, but I think it's ivory. It's not anything special. It's just like a cream ivory fabric. It's really cute. This one and one other pattern that I designed that has a bunny in it was inspired by some of my daughter's artwork, and she's 8 now, but it would have been when she was like 6 or 7 that it's like that time frame that she was drawing in. So It's just a little wonky deer with a dandelion. Okay. Next one I have is also a recent finish. This is, let's see, I'll do it like that. This is Persephone's Garden, also a design by me. This was stitched on a 46 count, Midnight Ride by XJU. And stitched in mostly Pirate Robin flosses. Yeah. I was able to find a thrifted frame for that, so that's fun. But there she is. I really like how this one turned out. I especially like that I found a frame and my cats. All background noise is probably my cats because they just like to get into it when I'm not paying attention to them, I guess. So I will show off. I'm gonna just grab this little pile and bring it down here. Okay. This is a little pillow finish on another design of mine. This was part of a pattern called Blue Rose. It's just a little alphabet that I felt like designing. Alphabets are a lot of fun to design, I have found. I have another pattern that I'm working on that has an alphabet in it, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Sorry, my hands are like, I'm having a hard time holding things steady. Just like, okay. This is on a 32 count Picture This Plus lugana called Sprite, and I stitched it 2/2. I don't know how, like, for some reason I have a hard time with lugana. I feel like it's just too tight. I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. So I do have a couple of finishes that are on lugana, but it's not something I would choose now to stitch on. Not something I would buy now. I think I was just at the beginning experimenting, buying different fabrics, that sort of stuff. But this is a little small from my Blue Rose pattern. I can see, I don't see like the main pattern. It's in the stack, but I'll have to get to it later. This next pattern is by Night Spirit Studio. It is called Gothic Plague Doctor Ornament. And I stitched 3 of these and finished them like this as a little ornament. The other 2 were gifts, so I don't have them here. A nice little beaded border. I did do a color conversion on it, made slight changes to the pattern, and I stitched this on a 40 count merlot fabric, or merlot linen by FoaW. Yeah, so that's that finish. And then I made 3 of these, which I need to start stitching my Christmas ornament gifts earlier in the year so that when I have to stitch 3 of them, I can space it out more. I always say that and then I don't do it, but maybe this year will be the year 2025. Next one is also a pattern by me. This is going to be very repetitive. A lot of these patterns are by me. Okay, but this one is a little mini bell pull finish. This is called Strawberry Clouds. I'm going to put it in front. This is on a 36 count persimmon linen by FoaW, stitched 1/2. And it's mostly DMC with just this border right here is a Roxy Floss. The little square border. Finished with some fun bell pulls that I got off of ABC Stitch Therapy. Yeah, but they changed their website, and now I noticed that at least the last time I went to, when I looked up these bell pulls, which are the Oslo mini brass bell pulls, they were listed on the site, but they didn't have any pricing listed, and they didn't have like dimensions of these listed, because there are a lot of sizes of these. This next project I have is also using the same bell pull, it's just bigger. A bigger one. So I hope they released it. I don't have a need for getting more of these bell pulls now, but if it's still like that when I want more, I'm just gonna obviously email them and see if they can do it. Maybe they just don't know that the listing is out of date. This is a finish designed by me, also in a bell pull style. It's called Pink Menagerie, and this is also on 40 count merlot linen by FoaW. I stitched this with a lot of Threadworks flosses that I had. I had bought like 4 or 5 different pink Threadworks for a different pattern, and they didn't work out. And then I felt a little bit guilty for buying so many when I could have just gone to my local needlework shop, and my local needlework shop has all of the Threadworks flosses there, so I don't know why I didn't just go into there and notice that they're just not right for the pattern I was thinking. But it worked out in this pattern, and I really like the results of it. Okay. Oh, and this fabric is fun too. I think this is a tulip pink striped fabric. Okay. My next one, I'll pull some of these frame pieces. This one is Poison Apple Tree by me. It's stitched on a 40 count Fiber on a Whim linen, right? Yeah, Fiber on a Whim linen, yeah, in brick. And it's just a fun little pattern I designed when it was starting to get a little bit of a chill in the air, and so I was feeling the fall stitching and I wanted to stitch something up. And yeah, this is what came to mind. I stitched this in, I'm pretty sure it's all DMC. I'm trying to think, I can't remember exactly. I want to say it's all DMC, yeah. And it's in a thrifted frame. This is actually, it's one of those like plate frames, like you can see on the back here. Like it's a deep frame that can fit a decorative plate in it. And so I found it at the thrift store, like with one of those plates in there, and I thought it would just make for a really fun oval finish. The border right here was like, I don't know, it's not gold leaf, it's just like gold paint border. And so I changed it to this, it's a very light lime yellowy green to match the lime in here and in here, this color. So that was a really fun one. This was really fast to stitch up, I thought, at least. It's the type of stitching style that I like doing, so it goes really fast for me. Okay. Next up I have this little banner design. This is called the Diviner, another pattern by me. This was fun because it has a lot of specialty stitches in here. It has these road stitches, has decorative stitching, it does have some smear crosses, but I especially like doing the road stitches in there. And since doing this pattern, I have included a lot of road stitches in other patterns that I've done. It's DMC and 1 Threadworks floss, and I think this is stitched on a 20 count Aida by Fiber on a Whim in the color Wheat. And then I finished it, some backing fabric. I think I mostly hand sewed this because sometimes I'm afraid of the sewing machine because I'm not very good at it, and I'm afraid I was gonna get wonky lines. And with the Aida, it's nice because you can just, you can count out the number of squares, like how much your border is supposed to be by the number of squares on the Aida, and I just like draw a line with the heat erasing pen, and I just did the hand stitching. It was pretty simple. But it took long. It's simple, but it takes a long time, you know? Like it's not a fast process. I want to say this took about 3 hours to finish it in this style for me, but it was also the first time I was finishing one of these, so it might go faster on future ones because there are more that I want to design with this exact like banner style and these little tabs at the top. Okay. The next project I have, this I'm counting as two starts and 2 finishes. This is my video game sampler. These are little patterns I'm designing that are like 40 by 40 stitches. And this is what I have so far. I have one for Pikmin, and then this game is Frog Detective. And this is the frog, this is so bad to wonky. Okay, this Frog Detective one was my final stitch for 2024. I finished this on New Year's Eve, I think, yeah. I had to frog some stuff on it, and then I put it away because I was frustrated, but it's so tiny that I also just wanted it finished, so I took it out on the 31st and finished it. So that's 2 starts, 2 finishes. So some of my starts and finishes are smaller. That's why there's so many, right? No, there's a lot of I like stitching a lot of, I think I consider them like medium to large, but not super large. Like I'm not into stitching BAPs, like big ass projects. That's not usually my style. I burn out. I don't know. I don't know if it's a focus thing or if I just have picked the wrong pattern so far, but just not into that. I'm just not into it. I like to get a finish. I like the process, but I do like having finishes, and I like being able to display them in my house, that sort of thing. So this next pattern is another pattern by me called Witch's Road. This was designed after I watched Agatha All Along. So if you've seen the show, you know about that song, The Witch's Road, in there, and that's what this is inspired by. It's on a 40 count it's like 123 Stitch had it labeled as a Witched Sage color linen, although it doesn't feel like witched, so I'm not really certain about that. And this one I tried beading in it, like designing with beads, which I don't know if I'll do much of, but it was fun to try it out. And this is a freebie pattern I have now on my Ko-Fi, so you can pick it up if you like it. Next pattern I have is Strawberry Mountain. This is designed by me on a 40 count fiber on a whim linen in the color Brick. It's the same cut of fabric as I did for the Poison Apple Tree. So this was inspired by Marjorie Maid's Strawberry Moon SAL. After watching that floss tube where she was talking about it and she was all excited about it, I just had to design, I just felt like designing something, and the inspiration for this piece was, if you're familiar with like butterfly gardens, or I don't know if people do this normally or how common it is, but they'll put out like fruit, like a pile of fruit, and that's where like some of the butterflies will sit in the butterfly gardens and like suck on the nectar there. Or is it nectar? Yeah. I don't know a terminology like that. I forget it. Like at one point I'm sure I knew, and then, you know, I just have too much cross stitch in my brain to remember stuff like that now. But yeah, the inspiration was like imagining a pile of strawberries that the butterflies were on. And so then I came up with that kind of like mountain looking, I'm calling it a mountain because to the butterflies it looks more mountainous, and just a lot of fun little strawberries within the pattern. And these butterflies do look moth-like. They are based off of a, I think that I don't know if it's a native butterfly to Washington State, which is where I live now, but they at least live in Washington, Pacific Northwest area, and they're called woodland skippers, and they do have like little fat fuzzy bodies, kind of like moths, but they have obviously have like the proboscis, that's how you say it, yeah. And they are considered butterflies, so they are very moth-like butterflies. So that's Strawberry Mountain. And this was also the piece where like my top 3 DMC are all in this piece. So it's like the pink, actually I think this is 956 and this is 3607. And then I'm sure the brown is in here somewhere. It's just not as prevalent. And then Cherry Magpie is my next one I'll show off. Oop, there we go. This is also in a custom frame, even though I didn't need it to be in a custom frame because it's an 8x10. It's an 8x10. But this is stitched on a 40 count beetroot color linen by Fox and Rabbit. Mostly DMC with two over dyes. One is Threadworks and one is Color and Cotton. The hot pink is a zinnia. It's really pretty. And I was comparing my zinnia. I had a really old zinnia from, I don't know, a year and a half ago, and I recently bought some zinnia that I had ended up using in this pattern and some other places, but the zinnia from the more recent lot is like much warm hot pink. Like this is much brighter than the original zinnia I had, which I thought was interesting because I didn't even notice the change until I found like my leftovers. But that's Cherry Magpie, also designed by me. Okay, now we're like running out of space. Let's do this right here, this stack. So I had this idea that I wanted to do, my foot is falling asleep too. I wanted to do a quilt, a English paper piece, quilt as you go quilts. I don't do a lot of quilting or English paper piecing, but yeah, it's gonna be like a mini wall quilt. And these are finished quilted pieces that you would then sew together. I have 3 of them completely done. Like this. And you just keep going and sew them together. And these are all cross-stitch patterns from the Stardew Valley cross-stitch book that's published by Fangamer, but it's designed by Sirithre. I don't know how to pronounce their name, I realize. I meant to look it up, but I forgot. Anyway, so yeah, my plan was to do a lot of these and make a giant quilt out of them. Not giant, but like for the amount of cross stitching and paper piecing, it would be giant in my opinion. And I don't think I'm gonna do it. I think I'm done with it. I'm calling it a finish. I do have some other cross stitch pieces that I completed. So my cats, my little torty girl and my black cat Beans. I have some chickens. Let's see, I got a chicken, blue chicken, white chicken, the horse. Oh, what is that? Daffodils? Is it daffodils? Yeah, daffodils, some fish. So I have some of these done, and I think I'm just going to, like, I have all the fish done. So I think I'm gonna do maybe the fish as like a long banner. Something like this with like some quilted pieces here as well to make it like a long banner. So I think I'm gonna do that with the fish, and then this is gonna become like a coaster. That's what I'm gonna use for it, or like just something along those lines. And then the other stuff I'm just gonna like just figure out as I go. If I think of other things, maybe I'll make more coasters and just give them out to some friends. I don't know. I just found that the stitching of each individual little motif was fine. Like, I don't mind stitching them, they're nice and easy, but I just had a really hard time having to go. I didn't like having to go and find all the DMCs each time I was finished with one, because these go so fast, and then I had to put away all the DMC, and then I had to find all the DMC, and they have a lot of colors for being so small, even though they were simplified from the game art. So it is a simplified palette, but it's still quite a few colors. And then it's the type of charting where it's harder to make substitutions, because you need to make sure that, you know, the greens are all the right difference in shade to actually look like the pattern at the end, that sort of thing. So I was just annoyed having to get kitted up and de-kit each time I did one of these. So that's why I'm giving up on it. It's not fun for me anymore. So that's that one. That's just one start, one finish. That's it. Next, I have this one, another pattern by me. This is called Patchwork Beholder. It's on a 40 count Zweigart linen in the color Summer Khaki, all stitched in DMC. I did this satin stitch border. The back of the border looks very like almost the same as the front. So but it has a satin stitch border, which I thought was a lot of fun to do, and it's pretty fast. And then yeah, I think I just wanted to experiment with this color palette. I would like to finish this as like a top to a box, like a little wooden box or something for dice storage. Play Dungeons and Dragons while I play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm not actively playing it right now. I was discussing this with some friends, and it's just like, technically, do I play it? I don't even know. It's been probably, I want to say a year at least. It's conflicting schedule situation. It's the fact that I'm one of the dungeon masters, and then there's another dungeon master as well, but they have a 1.5, almost 2-year-old now, so it's just hard. It's hard preparing for that sort of stuff, and I'm so obsessed with cross stitching that you know, I don't make the time to figure things out, what I need to figure out for prepping, and a lot of it's scheduling, you know, meeting up. But that's Patchwork Beholder. Next one is not by me, it's by Bees on Toast Shop. It's on a 36 count Zweigart light mocha linen. It's a blackwork pattern, so it's done in this Pirate Robin boysenberry floss. And yeah, I don't do a lot of blackwork, but I had fun doing this one. I struggled a bit, but overall it turned out really well, I think. That's that one. Next is a Dimensions kit from the 90s. So it's an old Dimensions kit, and it's a silly little wizard. I love his expression on his face. I don't know if that's, oh, there we go. I love his expression. It's just so funny. And this cording on the robe was a lot of fun to do. At first I was like, how are you supposed to get the cording on a needle to get it through? But they have instructions in the kit, and you're supposed to thread your needle with the floss before you twist it into cording. So then one end has your needle on it that you can then drag through the fabric and get it into place. So that was an interesting method. And this is stitched on a, oh man, what is it? Let me look at that. Let me see. 28 count lugana by Picture This Plus in the color Moonglow. So not the kit fabric, but I still use the kit floss. Yeah, I used the kit floss. And I just made a change, I think, to the robe. There was supposed to be negative space, like some unstitched area here where the ivory Ada from the kit would show through, and I filled that in with like a matching DMC. So that was that fun one. I do have quite a collection of wizards, and will eventually hopefully be stitching more, because I'd like to have a little wizard collection outside of my office, because that's cool, right? Here, I'll show you the other wizard that I stitched so far. It's kind of buried though. Oh my God. Here it is. Okay, this other wizard I've done is by Sewing Starfish. It was called Wizard's Inventory SAL, and this is how it turned out. This is one of the projects that I started in 2023 and finished at the beginning of 2024. It was a lot of stitching, but the wizard's a lot of fun. All the motifs were a lot of fun. You know, you got one or two every week, maybe. I can't remember. I started the SAL late and I finished it after the SAL was complete, but I was kind of keeping pace with it for a while, just I was behind in it. Yeah. It's all DMC. I used all the called for, and I stitched this on a Picture This Plus linen called Gothic. It's a 40 count. Yeah, that was rough. It's a very dark linen. And I was doing it during the winter, so I would not do that again, I don't think. But I do have this other section that I want to use for something at some point. Just maybe do it during the summer, not during the winter when there's like almost no light here. Okay, my next one is a series. They're all scattered though. It's a series I designed this year. It's seasonal, so there's one for each season, and it is inspired by Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. That's what I was playing at the beginning of the year. And so this is the spring one. This is called Spring Seeds. It's a little spring style Korok Quaker pattern, I guess. Yeah, so that's spring. This one is summer. There's summer. And then I have fall. Fall one, and last one I did, winter. And these are all on a 40 count fiber on a whim linen called Cypress. It is interesting seeing how, I guess they look pretty even now. I was like, they all look different. Not really. This one is a little bit darker and bluer, and so I saved certain sections of it for different seasons. Like this one has the most blue in it. I don't think you can even tell on the camera. In person, you can kind of tell. But these are a lot of DMC. What is this color? The blue. The blue in here is a Roxy Floss Aquatics. And I used that through all the patterns. And then some of these also had one or two overdyes in that I would throw in there that I had in stash. I think this one, the pink, is maybe an overdye. Is that an overdye? Yeah, that pink is an overdye as well. But it was fun. This is a fun little seasonal stitch. I want to say they're like kind of fast, but it's still like 4,000 stitches, like each of these, so not super fast. I need to figure out how I want to finish those, but I'm sure, I think I might want to do a flat fold, because I was looking at this flat fold that I have, and I do enjoy the process. Like, this is all like a hand sewn flat fold tutorial from Sirithre. So I like this process, but it just takes a long time, and I think it would be fun to do with the Koroks, but we'll see. I might change my mind before that. This pattern is called Under the Orange Tree, and it's designed by me. This is on summer. This is also on the summer khaki linen that the Beholder pattern was on. I think everything is DMC except for the red, which is a Threadworks color. And I just had like this fabric. I think it was for one of my daughter's costumes I had used it in. And then this is cording that I made from, yeah, there's that DMC is in on the orange outline. Is it elsewhere? Yeah, I guess it's all on this blue right here, the shadow. I just picked up another skein of that to make this cording to coordinate with it. And I really love the flat fold finish. All right, I had a brief little break. Get some water, but I also realized that I didn't mention, I don't think, that there are two finishes here that I'm not going to be showing off. One of them is, I'll just post a picture of the pattern because I made a lot of modifications to it, and I'll post my picture from Instagram that I did of the finish with like blurred out information because it's my daughter's birth sampler, it has her full name on it, it has her date of birth, so I don't want to put that on the internet. So yeah, this was J Saint A. Let me see. J Saint A reproduction sampler by Coulier Torterelle, and it's on a 40 count Zweigart cream linen. I changed the DMC, so it's like a new colorway for the DMCs. I also like removed certain motifs so I could fit in all of the text that I wanted to put on it. So heavily modified reproduction sampler. So that was one finish that I don't have with me. And then another finish I don't have, I can't really talk much about because it's going to be in a Just Cross Stitch magazine, which is super exciting. So summer 2025 issue of Just Cross Stitch. That's something that I stitched this year and finished this year. So next up is this little freebie that I have on my Ko-Fi. It is called Mini Heraldry, and this is just like 1/3 of the design, kind of, I guess you could say. There are 12 banners total and one for each Dungeons and Dragons fantasy class. So this is Druid, Wizard, Ranger, and Monk. And I only ended up stitching up 4 of them. I didn't really feel like continuing stitching up more. Wasn't like super into the color palette, I think. It has a fun, I tried doing a herringbone border on this, and that was a lot of fun to try out. This is a 40 count XJU fabric linen called Baby Sheep, all DMC. Next pattern is another freebie that I made last year. This is an Animal Crossing New Horizons inspired, actually just Animal Crossing inspired. One of the characters in that is this little bear that's called Stitches, and his saying that he has in game is "a stitch in time saves 9." So I thought it'd be fun to do a tiny little sampler that was inspired by that character in game. Yeah, and I think I want to finish this little pillow. I even have the interfacing on it already. So I had started the finishing and just stopped for some reason. All right. Next pattern is by Dirty Annie's Southern Style. Is that the full name? This is called Leopard Christmas Tree. It's on a 40 count blush Zweigart linen. It is stitched with some of the called for, but the pink is definitely not called for. And the dark brown is a DMC. I think it was charted in something else. But this will be a Christmas ornament. I'm gonna finish it next year for my daughter. But right now, it's still in this state. Another recent finish of mine is what I'm calling just Doodle Heart. This is eventually going to be a little heart-shaped pillow with a beaded border, but I haven't gotten that far. Another design by me, except the letters here, the alphabet is from like a 1920s, it's a book published in like the 1920s or something like that. Can't remember. It is public domain now, and it has a lot of fun cross-stitch alphabets in there along with some motifs. So I used letters from there to do my initials, JED, and yeah, this is mostly DMC. I think the brown color is a pirate robin. This is on a 40 count fiber on a whim linen called merlot. This is, yeah, some of the fabric. I've been slowly eating through this fat quarter of merlot. I had 2 other projects on it this year, so. Next up is by Sprouting Lupine. This is part of their Nature Walk series. I believe this one is on Witchelled, so it's very see-through. Yeah, this is Sprouting Lupine Golden Hour Nature Walk. Goodness. All DMC is called for. It's on a Witchelled 40 count linen, probably ivory. I really have no idea. It was just something I had left over. I at some point stopped buying Witchelled, of course, because I realized it was terrible, but I did not know initially that it was terrible, so I was like buying it, and then I had it and I just felt like I needed to stitch it. Fortunately, I did not ever buy a ton of it, so I think I've actually used up all the Witchelled that was in my stash at this point, which I'm very excited about. Okay, another pattern, not by me, this one's by Nora Corbett. This is Letters from Nora, the Mermaid series. This is the letter E. I feel like I'm blocking my own light by putting it close there. I can't handle having the ring light right in front of me, like by the camera. Like I can't stare into it for that long, so I have to have it off to the side, but then I end up blocking it sometimes with my arm. So that's why the lighting keeps changing so much. But yeah, this is a complete color conversion. My daughter wanted a pink mermaid. She wanted a change to she liked the minty greens. So I did all of that for her. It's also on a 40 count, so the beads had to change a lot. I talk about that in one of my earlier floss tubes though. Like I talk pretty extensively about that. And what else about this? I think that's the big things. Those are the main things. I said it's on a 40 count. I don't know if I mentioned the color though. It's Demoiselle by Picture This Plus. It's a light blue and it has like purple and pink and green splotches on it. I don't know if it's like picking up very well on the camera. Yeah, it's okay. It's really pretty though. The next one is another pattern by me. This is the Scorpion and the Frog. This was stitched on a 40 count fiber on a whim linen called Spicy Mustard. Reflections. I like to put everything behind glass. I have really bad allergies to dust mites and cats, and I have cats of course, but specifically for the dust mites, I like to put things behind glass if I can, because then I don't have to worry about it collecting dust and then having an issue with my having more issues as time goes on because of that dust collection and not knowing. I don't know how you would clean, maybe some how do you clean cross stitch that's sitting uncovered? I'm not sure, in the case of allergies, I don't know. I just put it behind glass, but it does make showing it on video very difficult. But this has, I think this has the 956 and 3607 in it as well, these purple and the purple and pink, because it was around this time period I noticed I was using these colors so much in my cross stitch. And it is inspired a little bit by is it a fable, an allegory? There's a scorpion and a frog one, about a scorpion and a frog. It's not Aesop's fable. I don't think it's one of those. I think it's a different origin to it. Yeah, and I am originally from Texas, so this feels very Texas to me too. I live in the Pacific Northwest now, but I grew up mostly in Texas, and that's where a lot of the inspiration for the borders and plant life. This is yucca, yeah, echinacea and lantana. And of course, scorpions were all over the place. Gosh, finding them in my bathtub was the worst, especially the little babies, because they're they can be very translucent, and so you don't really see them until you're right up on them. It's not great. It's not great. Do not miss that. But that's Scorpion Frog by me. I kind of wish I didn't do such a bold frame on this one. I'm wishing it was maybe in a brown frame. I don't know. Some regrets there. I think it looks good, but it is a little bit too bright. Like I wish this was maybe a darker color. Blue to match maybe like one of the darker blues in here. I think I would like it better. I might change it. I could always paint this in the future if I really, really wanted to. I really don't want to paint it though. All right. Oh, I finally found my other blue rose pattern. Now they're designed by me. This is on a 40 count fiber on a whim linen, but I don't remember the color. I might put it on the screen. I think it might be cocoa or something like that. I can't remember. This is a little pattern that was inspired, I think, by the blue cricket in Mulan was my original inspiration for this, and then I just thought about other blue creatures or plants, flora and fauna from different media that I am familiar with. So it's like the blue caterpillar from Alice in Wonderland, a blue rose it's very much heavily from Animal Crossing and all the time spent trying to grow blue rose. It's pretty hard to get blue rose in Animal Crossing, but you can get lucky, and I did get lucky on one playthrough. But blue chickens from like Stardew Valley, the blue butterfly, it's like they have those in Animal Crossing and stuff like that. I think I had just watched Rio with my daughter, so blue macaw, some of the little butterflies. But that is blue rose. This is the pattern. This is like the main pattern, and then this one is like a little extra that came with the pattern. This is on the 32 count, this is on 40, so this rose is much bigger. But yeah, those two together are that pattern. Next is part of the fantasy banner series I'm doing, so I don't see it anymore, it's buried, but the Diviner was one of the banners. It's the first banner, and this one is the Rogue. Mostly DMC with one Pirate Robin floss for this section, like the dark blue to burgundy, but that is the finished Rogue. I still need to fully finish it so I can release it. And this is on a 20 count Ada by Fiber on a Whim in the color Affogato. I really like this one. I do think that a lot of Fiber on a Whim, at least for the Adas and the ones I purchased, they do have a little bit of a green undertone. This is like a tiny bit green. So if you don't like green, maybe not for you, but I like the color green, so I was happy to see that. It looked more green in person to me than what I was seeing on at least 1-2-3 Stitch. That's that one. And I think I'm gonna try and finish this very soon because I really want to get that pattern out. It's one of the last patterns that I finished designing, and almost like I finished this months ago in 2024, and I just haven't gotten to actually release it yet. All right, this next pattern is it's just made from game art from like the Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, like the original release of it, not the re-release from Switch. So it's a little pixel art, and it's the 8 instruments. They're really spread out. So there they all are, and they each have, I think they're 4 colorways or something like that, 4 shades of like different blues or greens that I use in all of them. But the darkest shade is the same. I think it's probably, I actually don't know that DMC color. I use it a lot. It's like a dark peacock blue, like kind of green, not completely navy. I just don't remember the DMC color for some reason, but those are gonna be made into, I wanna do like a little mini pennant and banner style finish for these and like hang it on my bookshelf or something like that. Yeah, I have only one more left, I think this is my last one. Okay, that's exciting. I thought this would be over an hour, and so far it's at 53 minutes, and I think I'm gonna cut it down a bit because my cats were messing with things and I had to like pause here and there. So last one is another pattern by me. This was a Skyrim, so the video game Skyrim inspired Quaker style pattern. This is stitched on a 36 count persimmon linen by Fiber on a Whim. I don't remember what I stitched it with. Maybe English Ivy, but I also don't remember what brand of floss. Yeah. I chose a quote from the game that I liked. It's, what does it say? May your road lead you to warm sands. If you're familiar with the game, it's something that Khajiit travelers say, but it essentially like means in the context of the game, like may your road lead you home is what it would mean. So that's the last pattern I have, I believe. That was all 38 finishes for the year for 2024. I have a lot of stuff planned already. I'm getting a little bit overwhelmed as far as like the amount of designs I have planned. I just already feel like I don't have enough time to stitch everything. 22 projects for 2024 was maybe a lot, maybe too many. I don't know if that'll go down or if I'll just continue with that trend. Who knows? It's difficult because I am stitching everything on my own, so it takes a long time. Things take a long time. And then I want to stitch so many other designers as well that it's hard to balance that at times, but I am hoping to get some of my old whips finished this year so that maybe they will be in the 2025 finish parade, especially that 2022 whip and yeah, those 2023 whips. It'd be nice to do some of those, but they're also very large projects, so maybe that won't happen. We'll see. I'll be back for another floss tube at some point. I'm also doing something a little bit different. I am trying to do like a vlog, like a stitching vlog style filming. So it's less of like me sitting here and talking and more of me like you looking at my hands and my stitching on the camera, and I'm just talking about it, like small little segments. So I'm doing that too, which has been a lot of fun to experiment with, and I'll probably be releasing that before I do my next floss tube, I would guess. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for sticking around and looking at all of my projects. I hope you're having a great new year so far, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.